Hello, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden, and we are in part 3 of the Narcissism Defense 101 series. In the last video, I explained that in this video, we were going to talk about the narcissist's communication system and the narcissist's stage. I have decided not to do that in this video because I have covered this in other videos, and I wanted instead to focus on how to identify when you're caught up in an emotional journey and how to disarm the narcissist. I would rather start talking about the tools you need to start putting the brakes on this whole process and breaking it down. So to do this, I want to show you the opportunities that arise with each and every one of these. Now, having this knowledge puts a lot of power in your hands. Yay, big deal. Having this knowledge arms you so well against narcissism that once you practice it, the more you practice it, you are actually exercising your defense system. This is a big, big deal. This is like golden, juicy nugget here. Your defense system has a whole history to it. Now, I am not going to get into the history of your defense system right now. The reason why is because it's very long. Maybe I will do that later this week as I get into my narcissist week. Maybe I'll get more into the defense system. But right now, I really want to focus on the importance of the emotions that you're going to feel when you start exercising this program. When you are given defense information, psychological defense information, it becomes a tool, a skill set that you can practice, where you can start to recognize symptoms. You start to recognize when someone's a narcissist right up front. If you are currently navigating the dating scene, you're going to see a lot of this. So that's a lot of opportunity to basically use your defense system. If you are already in a relationship with someone, whether or not they are a full-blown narcissist or they are just occasionally slipping into the same tools that a narcissist does, it allows you to really step back and go, oh, I see the real picture. This is what I'm really dealing with. Conscious awareness is the most powerful tool you have to raise your defenses. The more conscious awareness you have, the more it adds to your defense system. And that's really, conscious awareness is a huge part of your defense system. I would go as far as to say that your defense system is your conscious awareness. And that is your ability to communicate. It is your ability to set boundaries, to enforce those boundaries. And it is the confidence that you can. It is the ability to be aware of red flags so that you can see when something is going on. It is your ability to get angry. Now, emotions are the best tool you have for keeping you informed, keeping you consciously aware of the abuse that's around you, which is very contradicting to everything we've been told about emotions, which is normal. Emotions get a really bad rap in our society. Emotions are very logical, and they come from 4 different sources inside of our system. When we have our cognitive core with its 5 compartments, every time we put beliefs, observations, or information into that 3rd compartment, and it starts to process those beliefs into perspectives, I refer to that as cognitive core processing. That is an emotional path. That processing, when you take a belief to adjust the cognitive core to form your perspective, is going to generate emotions. So your thoughts get turned into beliefs. Your beliefs generate emotions to report to you the optimum mental health of your cognitive core. As you generate more emotions, the cognitive core produces more emotions to tell you this is the process that it's all undergoing. You're in the anger stage or you're in the joy stage. That's because you're starting to take inventory of the data that's been placed into your cognitive core. You are now in the calculative stage of realizing your losses or realizing your gains. You're now taking inventory. Now you're looking at the grief system. It's not a system. Now you're looking at the emotion of grief and depression, or you're looking at abundance. Oh, scarcity. Oh, I just had an epiphany. Oh, I'm going to have to shelve that for later. Oh, that's a big one. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, I just unlocked scarcity and abundance. Oh, I'm so happy. I manifested for this question about 3 hours ago and it's here and I just got it and I'm just so happy. So you have all the different emotions that are going to spit out at different stages of processing. When that happens, you have emotion A, emotion type A, generating off of this process. That's your cognitive core emotions. The other type of emotions is the emotions that only come from your fear system. Those are emotion type B emotions. The third is emotion type C, which is coming from your identity. I love identity emotions. And the other one is your guilt system, which is a subgroup of your fear system. And those are D type emotions. That is your guilt system. So I'm going to go through this once more. Type A emotions are your cognitive core emotions. Those are emotions that are generated from your beliefs, your thoughts to beliefs to your cognitive core, and it's processing to confirm that processing is going well or bad. Type B emotions are from your fear system. Type D are from your guilt system. And type C is from your identity. I am debating on whether or not there's a fifth group from your defense system. Anger is from your defense system. I'm going to say yes. So I'm going to put in here A, B, C, D, E, type E emotions for your defense system. Because you do get anger. Anger is 100% out of your defense system. Confusion. No, confusion is from your cognitive core. The anger is the only emotion I know of. There's warning, there's caution. Caution and warning come out of your defense system. Caution and warning and anger. I don't think we have any other emotions that come out of our defense system. Nope. Caution, warning, and anger. Those are your three emotions assigned to your communication system. So if you feel the emotion caution, warning, or anger, it means that your defense system is up and operating. Yay! If you do not feel cautious, if you do not feel warning, if you do not feel the emotion anger, your defense system is down. Your defense system is not working. Now, just because your defense system is up and working doesn't mean you're using it properly. Just because you have anger does not mean you are doing it properly. There is 3 ways you can handle anger. You can completely avoid anger and suppress it. Please don't do that. You can avoid anger and suppress it. That's option A. You can become violent. That's option B. And the third option is communicate. Enforce your boundary. Those are your 3 options. This is real simple. Simple. I'm going to quote Sir Isaac Newton. In truth, there is simplicity. It is true when it is simple. So your defense system has 3 emotions: caution, warning, and anger. And you have, with anger, 3 options. Avoid and suppress. Don't do that. Become violent. Please don't do that. Or communicate by enforcing and setting your boundaries. That is your defense system. Your fear system. Your fear system. Your fear system. Your fear system has one emotion that evolves into only 800 other emotions. Insecurity is fear. Fear, I'm gonna set fear aside. The second emotion is guilt. Guilt is actually one emotion. It is the fear of rejection, fear of belonging, fear of loss of belonging. That's all guilt is. That is all guilt is. Guilt is easy, simple. Guilt is just the feeling of there's guilt, and then there's the underlying fear of guilt, which is why guilt is a subgenre of fear, because guilt is really fear. But guilt feels nothing like fear. You know this. Whenever anyone feels guilty, what are you really afraid of? You are afraid of rejection, because the only reason why you're feeling guilt is because a third party. Now we're getting into the fear system. Now we're getting into narcissism, which is exactly what we need to talk about. So when you receive guilt, that is the narcissist has entered into your system, your mother, usually your mother or your father, and they have walked over to your belief system and used the words, you shouldn't do that. Now, I refer to this as a false belief or a false premise. So they take their perspective, they gaslight you, and they say, you shouldn't behave like that. You shouldn't want that. You shouldn't do that. And that's your parents cramming their perspective into your cognitive core by using guilt, by using a false belief. So they take their false belief and they cram it into your third compartment in your cognitive core. And that shoots off this offspring of another perspective. And now you have confusion. So now you have your perspective and you have your parents' mutated alien thing, which is their perspective. And now you have conflict between wanting to do your own thing, but you've got your parents' thing here. And the emotion that underlines this one is guilt. Now, if you do not follow this line, there's going to be a consequence. And that consequence is fear of parental rejection, fear of parental abandonment, fear of losing where you belong. If you disapprove of mommy and daddy enough, mommy and daddy can disown you. If you disagree with the ethics of mommy, daddy enough, you will ethically have to say, sorry, have to leave. And you leave your parents, and now you have lost your family and you have no belonging. It is a very real fear. The fear of being rejected, the fear of not belonging. So all of guilt is 100% based off of this fear of being rejected. That is your core fear when it comes to guilt. One emotion, one core fear, simple as that, black and white. So people accept guilt in exchange for having a place to belong. The second group of emotions, the next one we're going to talk about, is the cognitive core emotions. Now, I'm going to give you the emotions that come from this naturally, the healthy ones. And then we're going to talk about the ones that are, this is when things go awry. Before we do that, we're going to talk about C-type emotions, identities emotions. This is easy. Ready? Love. Just love. We're done. Love. That's it. Identities emotions 100% are based off of love. Joy, wishes, dreams, imagination, fantasy, hope. It's all love based. Any warm, fuzzy, I love this, I like this, I want this, I need this. That's love. Identity is pure love. Really simple. Really, really simple. The cognitive core, technically, when it's done right, the cognitive core has no emotions. That's how you know it's functioning properly. Because the cognitive core is not supposed to generate emotions. It only generates emotions when there's a problem. So if you are getting a lot of emotions, it's because your cognitive core is really messed up. So this is how it works. You have your identity, which is all love, and your identity creates your ethical perspective. What you love becomes what you value. What you value becomes your ethics. So from love to values and ethics, and now compartment number 2 is composed of your ethical perspective. I'm going to use my vegetarianism as a great example because this really is a great example. When I was 4, I saw some horrific abuse with animals. And by the time I was 4, I was a diehard, passionate, I love animals. 4 years old, I love animals. So that I then had the ethical belief that animals had equal rights to human beings. And in my opinion, they fucking do, which means you shouldn't eat them. So for me, I was on the same path, the same equal footing as an animal by the time I was 4 years old. So by the time I was 8, I was a diehard vegetarian going, animal rights, which really conflicted with my conformist Republican family who owned a gun shop. So when I was 8 and I did my whole animal rights, it did not go well. In fact, it went really fucking bad. So my father decided that I needed to carve up animals and I needed to eat them. And I was force-fed animals from the time I was, well, my whole life. It was amazing to watch the psychological drama ensue from my body. I ended up developing nightmares. I ended up with split personality because of this. I had a gun pointed at me when I was 8 and I was threatened. And the guy said to me if she were my daughter, and he pointed the gun at me. So yeah. All right then. So, and then I had to be forced to eat my friends and things that I considered it was cannibalism to me. So I ended up having severe nightmares. I ended up having stomach pains and physical pain all my life because my identity was trying to communicate to me. It was amazing because my identity had been ripped into 2 pieces, thrown away. This is all perspective abuse. Thrown into the 4th level of the subconscious mind. The identity sat there and from the 4th level screamed at me, "You're a vegetarian. Here are some nightmares to remind you of your ethics." And that what happened with my subconscious mind, and that happened with my ethics going on. I had no idea because my subconscious mind also gave me amnesia, completely wiped the memory out, gave me another alter, an alter, and took my core personality and crammed that in my subconscious. So, I was messed up. I was really messed up. The belief was that I was not a vegetarian, and that was forced into me, creating an alternate timeline, an alternate ego that I had to live in an alternate perspective. And it completely wiped the memory of the top perspective, the primary perspective. So every time I ate, I ended up with significant emotional turmoil for 40 years. And the emotions, every time I saw an animal getting hurt, was anger, my defense system. But because I couldn't communicate, because I was beaten if I communicated, my defense system was down. My fear system took over. My fear system kicked on, and my fear system started to generate pain and cognitive dissonance and severe discomfort to the point of mental illness. And then it altered my belief system so I would create a new perspective so I could cope and handle the shit that was being done to me. When you have an optimum mental health, when you have a clean cognitive core where everything is functioning beautifully, you'll get the belief into your system. It will complement and enhance your identity and your beliefs and your ethics. It will actually work with all 3 of those. And if it's all aligned, then it will continue to sharpen and focus the clarity on your telescope. It will solidify your name and who you are. And that final perspective, your subconscious mind's perspective, will become crystal clear, and you will know who you are. You hear something on the television, You can generate immediately. Do I like this? Do I agree with this? Do I want this? It goes into your system. If you agree with it, then you love, you have the ethical love, you adopt it. It's your belief now. Your beliefs are all based off of love. All based off of love. I have a real problem with the Hoover Dam. Real problem with the Hoover Dam. I'm going to shelve that soapbox. That ethic, that belief, my severe anger at the Hoover Dam is actually my total love and adoration of animals and the planet, and what that abomination is doing to my animals and my planet. It is love. I hate the Hoover Dam because I love. I have a core belief that the Hoover Dam is an abomination that needs to be destroyed. And it is based off of pure love for the animals and the planet. Absolutely. So I have beliefs that are solely fueled by my ethics and my identity. Do you see how these three gorgeous things work together? What you love is who you are. What you ethically value is based off of what you love. What you believe is solidified off of what you love and what you value. That's who you are. That's your identity. That is all of who you are. And those three things together define your name. That is who you are. I am Anna, lover of animals and the planet. I really love the sound of that. That's my name. I'm taking it. And so I have this very clear telescope of my fifth perspective, of that fifth compartment, my subconscious mind's perspective. And it is aligned with my identity, what I love, what I ethically believe, what I ethically value, what I believe, what I know me to be, what I have defined myself as, and that ultimate subconscious mind perspective. A narcissist will put a false belief inside of your system. They will say something to me like, the Hoover Dam is good. Now that contradicts my identity and my ethics and my beliefs and my perspective. Now, we're going to talk about an emotion called cognitive dissonance. It is an emotion that no one except psychologists know about. The other people who are very familiar with this term are musicians. Cognitive dissonance means, cognitive means brain function. Cognitive means thinking. Dissonance is a musical term that means a lack of harmony. Actually, it means disharmony. Leonard Bernstein is a really great example of dissonance. Like the entire score of West Side Story is a fantastic example of dissonance. When you hear a perfect chord between a C and an E, that is a perfect fifth. When you hear a C and a C being played, that is your octave. That is a gorgeous sound. That is resonance. That is alignment. That is a frequency, two different frequencies that align so perfectly that they harmonize with each other. When you have two frequencies that don't harmonize with each other, that is called dissonance. It is a lack of aligned frequency. Cognitive dissonance is an emotion that exists when you have contradiction or dichotomy inserted in within your cognitive core. So you have your identity, you have your ethics, you have your beliefs, and you have your defined name. You know who you are, and you have your subconscious mind perspective. The narcissist creates cognitive dissonance by embedding their own beliefs into the belief system, by embedding their own perspective into your belief system, by hijacking your perspective and taking it for themselves. So as you are being abused, you can literally feel your subconscious mind turn on you. You can feel your subconscious mind literally walking across your brain and siding with your enemy. In both cases that I was consciously aware of the narcissistic abuse, I could feel it. I could literally feel them taking my subconscious mind away from me. This is perspective abuse. It is the hijacking of your own mind. It is the most painful trauma anyone can endure. Guess what? All traumas are this. No exception. Not one. If you have a problem with violence and you go to war, you're gonna have cognitive dissonance. If you are a pacifist and you go to war, you are going to have cognitive dissonance. If you value law and order and you are forced to break the law, you are going to have cognitive dissonance. If you are forced to do something unethical, something that violates your identity, what you love, you are going to have cognitive dissonance. If someone comes into your brain and takes it away from you so they can put their own perspective inside of your brain, you are going to have cognitive dissonance. So what a narcissist is doing is they are taking advantage of the emotional journey by corrupting your ethics, by actually using your ethics against you. You hurt me, knowing that you need to be needed, knowing that you are hardwired to love. So they say things like, you hurt me, you need to fix me now. And because you're an empath and because you are so HSP'd, tuned in to helping others, they will run to their bedside and take care of them. And you will be so swept up over the guilt and that distraction because you're caught up in the emotional journey. That's your first red flag. If you are swept away emotionally, that's your clue that you're being manipulated. Write that down. If you are emotionally preoccupied, you're being manipulated. That's why your emotions are so loud, because they have been used as weapons against you. So, stage 1, emotional journey. You're not supposed to feel emotional. If you feel emotional, it's because you're being manipulated, because you have cognitive dissonance inside of you. You're not supposed to have confidence. This is so black and white. This is so black and white. And I am the person that always says everything is on a spectrum, except this, because they have purposely taken it black and white, because you have been conditioned to think black and white. And as a result, this has become black and white thinking. And as a result, it becomes very easy to spot now. When you are aligned and when you are balanced, there is no emotional chaos. You are supposed to be at emotional zero, neutral. I live at neutral now since my healing. I live at neutral. I've been there for 6 months. I have been neutral for 6 months. When I have a spike of emotion, like I did this morning and last night, I was able to immediately go, whoa, that's an emotional spike. I'm having an issue. That's why I messaged my partner and said, you need to get away from me today, because I knew I was having an emotional reaction. I knew I needed to use my Triadic healing to bring it all in and cut it down and figure this out. Now that I have, it was amazing. As soon as I realized I had a PTSD trigger of psychological manipulation, as soon as I realized that I associate being needed with love, I felt the release. Like it did that. The switch in my brain just clicked and all the emotion vanished. All the emotion vanished instantly because I found the switch. That's what I do. I find switches in the brain. That's a really good way of explaining it. That is my profession. I find the switches in the brain so I can just shut them off. And when I realized that this was just psychological manipulation, I flipped the switch and I felt all my emotion vanish. And I went, well, there you go. Now I'm back down to zero again. But from last night at 11 o'clock, he came in with his, you broke me. And I felt the emotional journey. I went from neutral to severe emotion. And now I am so sensitive to emotions that I went, whoa, something's happening. And I needed to shut everything down, all communications, and go, I got to fix this because I'm having a massive breakdown because I don't get emotionally swept away anymore because I have defined myself at this zero neutral point. So if you are emotional, it is because you have experienced perspective abuse, and it is because you have cognitive dissonance inside of you, and you are trying to cater to multiple perspectives that aren't even your own. Welcome to narcissistic abuse. Welcome to perspective abuse. Now, one moment. Excuse me. Emotional journeys. When you are swept away on an emotional journey, that is your first red flag. That should be your red flag going, whoa, I am being manipulated. If you feel emotional, you need to get away, pause, reflect, step back. That is it. And I'm going to say this over and over again. If you feel emotional, stop what you're doing. Somebody is attacking your perspective. Go meditate. I actually have a meditation class that's free where I show you how to meditate for this. Subscribe to it. Seriously, meditation for beginners. Go take a look. I actually might be calling it healing meditation for beginners now, but meditation for beginners. It's on my channel. So this is the part where emotions should be your clue. Emotions are your subconscious mind communicating to you that shit is hitting the fan. Now, I know I have not talked about the fear system yet. That's because that's a whole topic in itself. Basically, there's like 8 million emotions that all revolve around fear. Like jealousy is fear. Insecurity is fear. There's a lot of them. There are so many of them that I have a playlist on my YouTube channel literally called Emotional Education Classes. And I teach emotional education because there are just so many of them. So I'm not going to get into the fear system now. Basically, you have the fear system and the primary emotion is fear. The cognitive core, that emotion should be emotionless. Should be emotionless. You have shock and disbelief. You have the shock. That's the first emotion that comes in. And it should be a very mild case of shock of, oh, surprise, shock. Then there's going to be negotiation. That's when you sit down and you ask yourself, oh, wait a minute. Are you sure? Is this data correct? Because if I'm going to take this information and put it inside the cognitive core, we need to make sure it's accurate. Are you sure this is how things happened? You're sure? All right. The next stage, let's assume it is going to be one of three things. That's going to be joy and euphoria. It's going to be anger because it's going to tip off it's either going to activate identity who celebrates and your, ha ha ha, that's your abundance and your scarcity. I'm just so happy I figured that out. Yeah, that is scarcity and abundancy. So that is joy, anger, or neutral. You're going to have a neutral spot in there. Joy and anger, that's a spectrum. So you have joy and you have anger, and then you have neutral. So when you get to this stage, basically it's when you start to recognize, is this hurting is this shifting the perspective? Is this damaging the unit? What is this changing? Now, I'm going to show you this. When you have your telescope is actually one of those really big ones that has a little knob that you adjust it 1 degree, maybe 2 degrees. Okay. You have to, this is very important. You have to adjust your perspective slowly. If you adjust it too quickly, it's going to cause discomfort and pain. Even if it's good, you do not want a giant adjustment. So if it's a small adjustment to the positive where you gain, you're going to feel, yay, I'm getting stuff. That's abundance. When you adjust it the other way, you're going to get scarcity. You're going to get loss, and it's going to go the other way, and you're going to feel loss. Now you're getting upset. But if it's a significant loss, now you're going to get angry because now you've damaged the system and the defense system is going to turn on. So if it's a little bit, it's not going to get you angry. It's just going to be a sad loss versus a little gain. But if you shift it one way or the other too much, that's when you get frustration and anger because you've damaged the system. This is why some people get good news and it pisses them off. That is why. That is why some people get good news and it pisses them off, because they have to make an adjustment to their perspective and it's damaging their core. So now they're pissed. Now their defense system is pissed off and they're walking around going, I'm so pissed. I have to do this now. You got a raise. I know I got a raise, but because you've adjusted it too much and it's damaging their cognitive core. We only get angry when there's damage done to the cognitive core, good or bad. Then there's the inventory stage. This is actually very mathematical and calculated of us. This is when we sit down and we count all of our losses and we count all of our gains. And once we realize what and how much we have lost, that's when depression kicks in, because we're sad and we go, oh, I've lost. And if you have gains, that's where you go, okay, all right, so I can see my raise is going to give me this much. That's going to be great. And then you have your final conclusion. And that final conclusion is your perspective of, all right, I have now made the preparations. I'm going to be getting a raise. This is the actual amount I'm going to be getting because the government exists and taxes are a thing. And that's going to adjust my perspective accordingly over here. I can now see how all of this is going to align. All right, then I am ready for the change to take place. Those are the emotions that come out of cognitive core processing. That's it. Shock, surprise, negotiation, joy versus anger, scarcity versus abundance, communication. I'm sorry, that's a misnote there. And then your conclusion. Those are it. That is it. And sad or happiness due to the celebration. That is it. So if you are getting any other emotion during processing, that is a very good red flag that someone's fucking with your cognitive core. Because when you are neutral and when you are stable, those are the only emotions you should be accessing. Those are your cognitive core emotions. Those are your type 4 emotions. I literally just call them cognitive core emotions. So you have those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have those 6, 7, 8. So you have 8 emotions. You have just those 8 emotions, and that make up the cognitive core processing emotions. That's it. That is it. You have your 3 emotions with your defense, which is the caution, warning, and anger. And that's all on a spectrum. Caution all the way to caution, and then it turns to warning, and then it becomes anger. That's just your defense system. And then with identity, it's love. Love is everywhere. I love everything. Identity is fantastic. And then you have guilt with her little fear of rejection underneath that, fear of losing where you belong. And then you have, boom, the fear system. That is a mess. 99% of the emotions you feel are fear-based. Yep, that is a rogue fear system. That is a whole nother topic, which we will discuss later. Probably tomorrow, we're going to talk about fear and what narcissism does to fear and how fear completely contaminates this whole thing. So that is what your emotions look like when you're actually in control of your emotions. So if you're able to go, all right, I don't experience guilt, I have no fear, I get my caution, warning, and anger on that perspective, I got my 8 cognitive core emotions, and I got love, I'm good. That's great. You're in optimum mental health. Yes, that is where you want to be. Everything is balanced. Everything is neutral. You really don't get caught up in emotions. You are here with your love and your identity, and life is good. And you've got your 8. Yep, everything's up there is processing properly. Everything's good. Yep, that's great. And you're fine. So when a narcissist texts you at 11 o'clock at night, you broke me. You can feel the emotional spike. It's an emotional spike. And you can go, whoa, that's a red flag who has fucked with my system. I need to shut everything down while I figure this out. And that's what I did. I figured it out. And that's when I went, all right, we're going to do a masterclass right now because this is information everybody needs. So use your emotions as a red flag. You should not be feeling intense emotions. If you do, somebody has fucked with your system. If you are somebody who is constantly in emotional pain, you've got a lot of cognitive dissonance. Call me. My link is down below. Talk to Anna. Call me. Book a call. We're going to go over it. If you are somebody who fights and constantly battles with emotions, You have been corrupted. Somebody has infiltrated your subconscious mind. Call me. The call link is down below. Get on the call with me. I'm going to sit down and we're going to go over exactly what it is you need to do. We will put together a healing journey plan for you. I love doing this. This is what I do. The second part, confusion. Confusion is that red alert emotion that comes from that defense system. If you feel, I'm going to say, I got to think about this. Confusion actually comes from the split, the divide that occurs when you have two perspectives in your cognitive core. And when you have that split, that's when you have the confusion. That's when you have mood swings. That's why you toggle between two different people in your brain, is because you are trying to serve two different perspectives at the same time. A narcissist will take your subconscious mind's perspective and they will give you their own. And if you value X at your ethical perspective, but your subconscious mind has been conditioned to value Z, you're going to have severe cognitive dissonance. And I have a lot that I'm going to elaborate more on that. That's actually covered in triadic healing. And I'm not sure if I'm going to get into it, because that's when I get into perspectives. That's when I get into my perspective thinking. And that's when I get into my combination theory. And I show you, okay, there's 8 perspectives, actually. There's 8 perspectives. And every person, when we are born, we are in perspective 1. And then when we're 2 years old, we move into perspective 2. And when we are 3, we move into perspective 3. This is usually when we are abused. And then our subconscious mind learns a lesson. It isn't safe to grow. It is not safe to be any other perspective other than this one. So I'm going to stay here. So your subconscious mind develops a perspective that is actually the second, the third, or the fourth perspective. But if you ethically value the things at the 6th perspective, you are actually 6th perspective who is forced to live at a 2 perspective. You are going to have a lot of emotional pain, because this is your parents' opinion and this is your opinion. And because your opinion is being forced to submit to their opinion, that causes significant cognitive dissonance. Now, when a narcissist comes into your life, that is exactly what they are doing. They are embedding their opinion over yours. So you might be an ethical 6 perspective, but your abuser is going to be an ethical 3. I can tell you that right now. All narcissists are the 3rd perspective. All narcissists are the 3rd perspective. So if you are the 3rd perspective, you're just going to fight a lot. You're going to fight a lot. Or you're going to be, you're going to fight a lot. You're not even, it's just not going to happen because you're both so independent. That's the 3rd perspective, is independence. And so you're not. 3rd perspectives can't abuse the 3rd perspectives. They can't, because you're both so highly independent. It's like 2 alpha dogs coming together in the wild, and then they bark and they fight. And basically the strongest wins. And that is exactly how narcissists function. So you are most likely a 5. You're most likely a 6. If you are an empath and an HSP, you are probably a 6th perspective being abused by a 3rd perspective. And you are being forced to live and function at the 3rd perspective when you are ethically aching to grow into the 6th perspective. But every time you get into the 4th or the 5th perspective, you have a fear of growth that the 3rd perspective abuse put on you, which forced you back into the 3rd perspective. But you ache to be at the 6th perspective. And you have 4 massive perspective stages that you need to grow through that you're not allowed to. This is why we feel suppressed. This is why we feel trapped. This is why we feel like we're unfulfilled. We don't know who we are and we're lost. It's because you need to be at the 6th perspective or the 5th perspective, but you have a narcissist who kept you locked at 3rd perspective or the 2nd perspective. That is perspective abuse. So, your emotional journey, if you are caught up in with emotions, that is your first red flag that you are suffering from perspective abuse. If you experience the emotion confusion, if you are clouded with judgment, if you just don't know, that is perspective abuse. That confusion means that you have multiple perspectives inside of you and you cannot figure out which one is yours because your identity has not been defined well enough. Your defense system is absolutely down. If you cannot communicate, that is a red flag. If you find it difficult to say, give me 5 minutes, because there's nothing wrong with just, this is a great test for you. If you are being abused, if you feel confused, if you're not sure, ask them for 5 minutes. And if they don't give you 5 minutes, that's a red flag. Give them 24 hours. That's my favorite. They might say, sure, 5 minutes is fine. But if they come back within 3 minutes, where are you? Oh, that's a huge red flag. I love getting those kind of DMs on Facebook. I'll be working. I'll get a DM from it's every time. It is always from another business owner. This is my information, and they'll blast it through to me. And I won't get to it because I'm working with clients. I can see that they've responded, and I do not have the time to sit down and talk to another business. I have to focus on my clients. And then I'll get, are you there? Ooh, are you there? Are you there is the biggest red flag in the world. I love the words, are you there? Are you there is text narcissist talk for, you're going to talk to me when I want you to talk to me, and I'm not going to wait because why should I have to wait? I'm the boss. So if you get the words, are you there? Or a question mark, if they send you a text and then they put a question mark on it, wow, blocked every time, every time. So are you there or a question mark are your two red flags that the person is a narcissist. Huge, huge red flag. So use your communication system. Don't tell them no if you're terrified. If you're terrified, we need to talk. Grab the link down below. Seriously, I do communication classes where I teach people how to open up their voice and use their boundaries and defense systems. It's so important that we learn how to communicate because it is your defense system. That being said, if you struggle setting boundaries or saying no, instead try this. Ask for 24 hours. If they argue, red flag, they're narcissists. They're manipulating you. If they contact you before the 24 hours is up, they're controlling, manipulative narcissists. If they are right there at exactly 24 hours later to text you, okay, time's up, narcissists, red flag, big problem, get away from them. If they do not wait for you to message them, they're dicks, get away from them. They're narcissists. They're using psychological manipulation. So it's a great tool to just say, I need 24 hours. It's that simple, that simple. So emotional journey, confusion, you struggle using your communication. They use terms like, are you there? Or a question mark because you didn't answer according to their schedule. And if you say no to them, or you give them a very clear answer and they plead or negotiate, another massive red flag, huge red flag. But I'm going to say again, if they are taking you on an emotional journey, narcissist, get the fuck out. You should not be emotionally engaged with anybody who you are not emotionally involved with. The fact that I had spoken to this person and had sex with him one time 3 years ago, and then he managed to use one sentence and get me caught up in emotional journey, red flag. And I'm looking at that going, God damn it, I should have known better. God damn it, I should have known better. Actually, I didn't because I hadn't been able to identify the emotional journey. That was the piece I had been missing. I thought that they started with confusion. That was my misleading belief. Confusion is definitely part of it. But I hadn't recognized the emotional journey. That was the first time I was consciously aware and I was able to go, oh, holy shit, I'm on an emotional journey. Because you have to be able to identify when the emotions are swept away with you. And if your emotions are already ramped up to a 10, it's because you are suffering from the narcissistic abuse. You are suffering from the perspective abuse and the cognitive dissonance. So I'm at 49 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and shut this down here. I'm going to continue this tomorrow. I'm going to do part 2 tomorrow and wrap this up. But if you have any questions, like I said, my link is down below. Leave comments all over these videos. I always read all of my comments. I am available on Facebook. And of course, I have the Talk to Anna, contact Anna down below so you can reach out to me. And we'll talk more about this if you have any follow-up questions. I have my master classes, which are currently 98% off. I'm having a gratitude sale. So the master classes, usually $5,000 to $30,000, are now down to $100 and $600. And those are available over on my website. Look for Fuck Trauma Fight down below, and you'll be able to see exactly what you need in that area. Go ahead and select the masterclass you want and get signed up. And like I said, class starts on the 14th, and that includes the integration workshop. So that is it for today. Thank you so much. And again, I'm going to continue this tomorrow with the Narcissism Defense 101. Thank you so much for joining me, and may the kindest of words always find you.